if you feel like something is missing in your life, then do one challenging thing, one uncomfortable thing every day for the next 30 days and watch that emotion dissipate. Every time you choose to do something you don't feel like doing, aka choosing the healthier meal option or doing a really intense, hard, challenging workout or meditating when you don't feel like doing that or swimming in cold water when you hate swimming in cold water, is because it strengthens this one really powerful part of your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. We can train this part of our brain, but if we then stop, then it little by little gets smaller, which is why it's important that we continuously challenge ourselves to do the thing that we don't feel like doing. And I just feel it in my life. Whenever I'm not challenging myself, I don't feel as much inner power as when I do stick to doing the things that I don't feel like doing.
Hi, my name is Pernilla, and this is my Challenge Your Norm podcast. I'm absolutely obsessed with anything related to personal development. And well, to grow, we got to challenge our norm. And so on this podcast, we chat about life and how we can challenge our normal way of living it to make it greater than we could have ever imagined. Just one little belief, habit, bold move, and challenge at a time.
Hello, my beautiful friend, and welcome back to another episode here on my Challenge Your Norm podcast, where today I want to speak with you about the importance of doing the challenging thing in terms of habits, making it a habit to not always do the thing that feels comfortable for you. And this is a skill that can be developed. And I was re-listening to a Haberman episode where he's speaking to David Goggins about the importance of taking actions that you don't feel like taking, as in your brain yelling at you, telling you to not do that thing that is going to feel uncomfortable in that moment. And the reason for it is that they spoke about on this episode is because every time you choose to do something you don't feel like doing, aka choosing the healthier meal option or doing a really intense, hard, challenging workout or meditating when you don't feel like doing that or swimming in cold water when you hate swimming in cold water, is because it strengthens this one really powerful part of your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. That is a hard word, but I taught it to myself because I found this conversation and this thing very fascinating because I could relate to it on such a deep level. Because when I started in my life, not always picking the easy route and creating these habits for my life, which I'm gonna share all my habits with you and what I do in the moment to make the right choice whenever I'm, battling between whether or not to do it, when I have that angel voice and the devil voice in my head wanting to keep me safe or wanting to push myself, those two inner battling voices, what I do in those moments. It was when I started really pushing myself and becoming aware of how I wanted to get uncomfortable that I saw my life transform in multiple ways, if not all ways, because what I wasn't able to previously put words to is how it fundamentally changed my brain and how I thought and how I showed up in the world. And I know that if you're listening to Challenge Your Norm podcast, like you're already on this self-development journey and you're with me, you're doing these things with me, but potentially it can be useful to you to understand the depths of why it is so important to strengthen this part of our brain and just be reminded of continuing to do that. Because I don't know about you, but I personally can get comfortable. Every now and then I catch myself getting a little bit comfortable, and that's when I need to start questioning myself again and start doing some things that I don't feel like doing, because all I knew before I started understanding this special part of our brain is that I just knew it compound affected into all these other areas of my life. Like when I pushed myself really crazy much in my workouts, I just noticed that I would show up more confident with whatever work project I was working on, or in social environments, or just feel better within because I developed this, well, now I know, willpower, decision-making abilities, self-control, resilience towards stress, and perseverance whenever you're going through really challenging times. And before we get into my personal habits that I do every day to maybe inspire you or maybe to question whatever you're doing in your day. If I don't know, if some of what I do in my day could be helpful, some of my thought patterns could be helpful. But before we get into that, it's important to mention that this apparently only works if we actually do the thing that we don't feel like doing. So like one of the examples they gave on the podcast episode was how if we go do an ice bath and we actually enjoy doing the ice bath, then going and doing the ice bath every day, even though to most people that would be something that they wouldn't feel like doing, it would feel like a very uncomfortable thing to do. If you're someone who actually enjoys the ice bath, then that doesn't actually strengthen this part of our brain, the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. I'm still feeling challenged by saying this word, but I'm continuously wanting to practice because I think it's cool. I think it's badass. But just that to say that it has to be something that you actually don't want to do. So like if you really don't want to eat the healthy salad, then by eating the healthy salad over whatever you do feel like eating potentially could help strengthen this part of your brain. And what they found is that this part of your brain, it's very big in athletes and it's very big in people who tend to live longer lives, and it's smaller in obese people. And also, if we don't continuously like we can train this part of our brain, but if we then stop, then it little by little gets smaller, which is why it's important that we continuously challenge ourselves to do the thing that we don't feel like doing. And I just feel it in my life. Whenever I'm not challenging myself, I don't feel as much inner power as when I do stick to doing the things that I don't feel like doing. And I want to share my habits with you because my habits are my habits, but I don't always feel like doing it. I actually often don't feel like doing it. The more it's become a habit, the more I do feel like doing it, but sometimes I still don't, and I have to push myself to do it. And that's partially also why I do it. And then if you follow me on YouTube, you know that I take on these challenges, and oftentimes the things that I have to do in those challenges are things that I don't feel like doing. So I like to have my habits that maybe I don't necessarily feel like doing always, but then every now and then adding a new challenge to the mix. And I may be sharing a ton of different habits with you right now, but it's important that if you do want to take on a challenge, just like start with one thing at a time, and have patience with yourself until it becomes a habit. They say that it's anywhere between 18 days to 254 days to actually develop a habit. And it depends on so many different factors play a role as to why some things become easier a habit for some people than others. So just have patience with yourself and continue to do it, and just know that eventually it becomes a habit and eventually it becomes easier. But while you're consistently showing up for yourself in this way and doing this thing that feels challenging, you are really strengthening this part of your brain. And I think you already know also that every time you've done something really hard, really challenging that you maybe didn't feel like doing, like you felt this inner power, inner strength, inner excitement from having done that. And part of that, I think, is because of this part of the brain that has been strengthened. I may have completely misunderstood the whole point of this, but regardless, I think in my mind, all of this makes sense when you combine it together. And so hopefully it does to someone out there listening as well. And most of you know my habits, but let's just quickly go over them anyway. I have been waking up at 4 a.m. every morning for 5 years at this point. And the reason I do that is because my bedtime is 8 p.m. While I was traveling, certain circumstances made that not possible for me. For example, in Bali, I had my challenge group calls, which I have an online community, like a challenge community where you can join my challenges and do my workouts, my nutrition, and my daily journaling. And just we chat every week. And those calls were late at night. So they were at 10 p.m. and I really had to like hype myself up during those nights. But because I had those calls later at night, as well as other like interviews and things like that, meetings with people in the States, I had to have a different time schedule. But my body functions really, really well when it goes to bed at like around 8 or 9, and then typically waking up around 4. And I've done that for so many years. It works for me. And I think if you're someone who's been wanting to get up early, you just haven't done it yet. And early can be 7 a.m. for many people. So maybe the fact that you could strengthen your anterior mid-cingulate cortex could potentially be the reason why you now decide to not snooze your alarm tomorrow, but actually get up and do it, because you want to start strengthening this part of your brain to develop this sense of willpower and self-control and confidence within yourself. When I wake up, I journal pretty straight away. And I have also done that for 5 years. And that I actually do want to do. but I just recommend anyone should journal, because getting to know yourself on that level, questioning your beliefs, questioning the way that you live is just powerful beyond, like, it changes you. And there are different ways that you can do this. You can do this either through what Julia Cameron calls morning pages, where you just free flow write anything and everything that comes to your mind for 3 pages straight. You can also do one of my journaling challenges. I have a couple. Again, that's if you join my community, which I will link below, then I have journaling challenges, but many people have journaling challenges. So find whatever like journaling prompts that resonate with you. And what I do right now is I just write my own questions. Sometimes I do a mix. Like I'll sometimes just free flow write, and then I'll think of some issue that I've been dealing with that I want to resolve, and then I'll question myself on that. And just anything that I feel like I need to work through, I work through in my morning journaling. And then after that, the meditation part is what is next in my morning routine. And that is something that I don't always feel like doing. But I will say lately, I've really been enjoying it. But in the beginning, I hated it. Like I did not want to do it. But I forced myself to do it because people had told me that it would be good for me and my brain would be wandering, which it still sometimes does. But I do it consistently, regardless of whether I want to do it or not. And again, with meditation, there's so many different ways you can do it. You can do it completely in peace and quiet, where you just focus on your breath. You can put on a meditation from YouTube, or from certain apps have meditations. You can put on meditation music. There's so many different ways to do it. And I will say, meditation also is absolutely life transformational. So not only do we strengthen the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, but we also really find peace within and connect to ourselves and get in tune with ourselves when we meditate. I then go straight to work. And when I work, I've made different guidelines for myself to be able to be productive. And again, this is like, it feels so good to have your phone next to you so that you can check your Instagram, or you can check your messages, or you can check whatever it is. Some people scroll on TikTok, but like, I don't do that. It's been a rule for myself. Yes, I want to, but I'm going to do the thing I don't want to do. So I'm going to put away my phone and I'm going to focus on the work task at hand so that I can complete these things that I want to complete, so that I'm moving in the direction that I really deep down want to be moving in, right? And I don't know if that's a challenge for you, but maybe deep down, you know what you need to do in order for you to be more efficient or work better, and really just committing to doing the thing that you don't want to be doing, or the thing you've been neglecting. And something that I also do when I work is I often will complete the most challenging task first, whether that be like a more intense edit. When I edit YouTube videos, like I know that that's the first thing I need to do, or it's filming. Like sometimes I'll have like 10 different things I need to film in that day, and that can feel a little like, oh, I would rather procrastinate it, but I do it right away. And what that does is not only do I complete those shoots, finish filming all those things, but I also am left with this feeling of accomplishment because I did the thing I did not want to do. And then I gain energy from doing that thing. Where if I had procrastinated it, then it's almost like I'm left with a feeling of disappointment in myself because I haven't done it yet. Where when I just get it done, then it's like I get energized from moving around and filming, but I also feel proud of myself. And same goes with when I then go into my workout. I don't always want to go work out, but I put on my clothes and I leave the door and I make my way to the gym. And then I just focus on one little thing at a time. Focus on my warm up, focus on the first set, focus on the second set, focus on the third set, and every single rep, just focusing on making it as good as possible, even though it feels painful as frick. Like right now, I'm really in a progressive overload, hardcore gym mentality, and I'm really pushing myself to the point where it hurts, where it does not feel good. And I am listening to motivational things in my ears. I am doing all the things to hype myself up, being my own best coach, talking to myself as if I were my own best coach, hyping myself up because I do not want to do it, but I coach myself in a loving, but also like, you can freaking do this, girl, kind of way. Talk to myself. And so maybe, I know most of you who listen to my podcast, you work out already, but maybe like pushing yourself further to where it hurts, where you maybe aren't pushing yourself currently, because it's going to help you achieve your fitness goals and it's going to help you get stronger and feel accomplished and proud of yourself, but also potentially because we want to strengthen this part of our brain and doing the exercises that we don't feel like doing because we know it's what's going to make us grow the most, but also it's going to help us strengthen this part of our brain, which, as I spoke about in the beginning, really, really, really can change the entire direction of your life because it just changes who you are to the core. Now, what I always look forward to after my gym session is a post-workout meal. And I obviously have made it a habit to eat the healthy option. I eat healthy. And I've been able to do that consistently because I made a commitment to myself that this is who I am. This is my new identity. And if you're someone who, maybe you're doing really well in your workouts, but you haven't really made that shift in your nutrition that you want to make, maybe you listening to this podcast episode and hearing that actually like shifts happen within your brain when you choose the, let's say, chicken and veggies over the slice of pizza because you felt like that was what you deserved after your workout. Maybe you listening to this episode will make you want to make the healthy option next time. And maybe it will make you not have that daily chocolate that you've been wanting to let go of, because when you say no to the chocolate, say no to the thing that you want, aka you're doing the thing you don't want to do, you're strengthening this part of your brain. And for me, for example, I love snacking at night. I love it. I love it. I love it. But my body doesn't love it. I need for my digestion to be really good. If you've been following my journey, you know that I've been working on bettering my digestion. My digestion works so much better if I stop eating at 6 and just make sure to have eaten enough so I don't go hungry to bed before 6 p.m. And so that's a commitment I've made to myself. And I don't want to do it. Like when it's 7, I'm like, I want a snack, but I don't take the snack because I want to be able to know that when I tell myself I'm going to do something, that I actually do it. I want to strengthen this part of my brain. I want to have good digestion. Like there's so many different reasons as to why we should do the things that are hard. There's so many reasons. And mostly and especially when it comes to these daily habits that we are creating, because that's really what it is. We're constantly creating habits, right? And yes, it's going to suck getting out of a bad habit or a habit that doesn't bring us joy anymore. But my point of sharing this episode with you is for you to be reminded that what comes as a result of not doing the thing that feels good in the moment, that sucks in the moment, maybe, there are so many wins, good results, good after effects from doing that. And something that I experienced recently was me telling myself constantly how I really wanted to start being in this consistent habit of reading again, because it had been kind of on and off and not as I would like for it to be. And what I told myself was, okay, all you have to do is just read one page. Because what I knew would happen is if I just tell myself to read one page, I'll be more likely to actually do it. And then once I've read one page, I'm going to want to read more. But it's the action of just getting started, right? And it's been so incredible to, first of all, have gotten back to the habit of doing it constantly. I do it at night, like I do it before I go to bed. And before I go to bed, I'm pretty tired and my willpower is low. But by telling myself that, I still get that, I don't feel like doing it. I don't want to do it. But because I've made the barrier to entry so small, I end up reading that one page and then I read multiple pages. That's to say that if you want to develop a new habit and you want to start strengthening this part of your brain, the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, then it may be worth making the barrier to entry a little bit smaller so that, yes, you still feel that feeling of, I don't want to do it, but you promise yourself to just run for 1 minute a day, or just read one page, or just write one sentence in this new book that you want to write. If you promise yourself to just do a little bit, you still feel that, I don't want to do it. But then it's like you get it done and you not only strengthen this area of your brain, but you also, unless I've completely misunderstood the whole point of that podcast, I don't think I have, but if I have, I'm sorry. I still think that if you're listening to this and I'm a little bit off in my understanding of that, I still think that there could potentially be some good from applying this to your life, whether it be completely accurate or not. Because if that could get you to start practicing these habits that you know long-term are going to make you happy, but also get you more resilient and develop more just willpower and decision-making abilities. Like the strength in being able to see a challenge, but persevere and walk through it, fight your way through it, I think is something that will benefit us all in so many different ways. And that's why we're here at Challenge Your Norm podcast. It's because we want to challenge our norm so that we can grow and become the humans that we want to become, because we all deserve to become that. That was all I had for today. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about my habits, and hopefully it inspired you to start a new habit for yourself. I love starting new habits and seeing whether or not it works for me. I do feel that I have to stay consistent with a habit for minimum 20 days, oftentimes actually longer, for me to be able to look back at it and think whether or not it does have a good effect on me, if it's worth me doing it. I actually wrote on my story the other day that if you feel like something is missing in your life, then do one challenging thing, one uncomfortable thing every day for the next 30 days and watch that emotion dissipate. Because if you feel like there's missing something, I think when we then go for something that we feel called to go for, but it feels uncomfortable or scary or just something we don't feel like doing, we reconnect with our inner strength, and that inner strength will only move us in the direction that we deep down want to be moving in towards. Then if we keep moving in the direction we deep down want to, then that feeling of something missing, it can no longer simultaneously exist, I believe, or at least it gets smaller, because growth equals happiness. It's just how it is. And if you want to grow, I just announced on my Instagram yesterday, it's Sunday today. This podcast episode will be out tomorrow on Monday, but I announced yesterday on my Instagram, Saturday, that I will be doing a November transformation challenge. So if you're someone who wants to push yourself in this way, get in the best shape of your life through actually finally aligning your nutrition and your training and your daily habits with who it is that you deep down want to do, and you want to strengthen your anterior mid-cingulate cortex, then I'll put the link in the description for you to sign up and join us. It's the best community in the world. I love these people so freaking much. They're badass. And yeah, November, we're starting a new challenge. The final 60 days of the year is when we can really freaking make a massive, massive, massive change. Actually, Patricia just shared with us today in the group that she's 2 months in, and she has lost 16 pounds, and she sees her entire life changing, as well as her kids. Like, she's not telling her kids that they should quit sugar as well, or they should make any changes to their nutrition. But from them seeing how she is changing her habits, they're like, maybe Mom, I want to also not eat as much sugar. Or, hey, Mom, can you do a push-up with me? It just shows as well that kids don't do as their parents say, but as they do, right? Like, it's always better to, it's the same with your friendships or the people in your surroundings. Like, you can't make someone change. You shouldn't tell them what to do. Let's say you're on a self-development journey on your friends aren't. Like, don't tell them that they should change, but allow them to see how the changes you're making is changing you. And then that is going to inspire them potentially to do the same for them when they're ready. Now I'm rambling, but I just love chatting with you. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. I hope you go out there today and do something that challenges you, not just because you're listening to Challenge Your Norm podcast, but also because we want this part of your brain to be strengthened so that you can feel like your absolute most powerful self. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, remember that in order for you to grow, you have to challenge your norm. Bye.